We're going to be learning watercolor techniques today. We're going to see what happens when we do a flat wash, gradient, wet into wet, dry brush, using salt, using rubbing alcohol, and scratching into our watercolor paper. Let's get started. Your tools for today are a big brush and a small brush, a butter knife, salt, rubbing alcohol, water, 2 colors of paint, and a paper towel. First, our flat wash opaque. What you are going to do is you're going to use your paint and you're going to get it a little bit of water, lots of paint, and then you're going to go over your watercolor paper, keeping it pretty solid to get an opaque wash. Next is translucent. You add more water, then pigment, but keep it pretty consistent. There are two types of gradients. We have gradients in tone and value, and gradients with different hues. We will start with the tone. We'll start at the top with our dark pigment and add water as we go, allowing it to get lighter and lighter as we go down. You can pick up as you want or increase as you go, increase water or increase pigment. You'll get a nice gradient. The next is a hue shift. We're going to start with our red up at the top and our blue at the bottom. And we will lay down both colors and then gradually bring water down to meet each other in the middle. And then just go over that again to get the colors to blend together. This next technique is a wet into wet. The last ones we've been doing dry application on the paper. So what we're going to do first is we're going to get our paper wet. And then we're going to load up our paint into our brush. And look at these great effects that you can get. You can get all these blooms. You can get a lighter gradation. Fun splotches. Pretty neat technique. Next is a dry brush technique. I'm going to switch to my smaller brush, get a little bit of water on my brush and then wipe it off. And for the most part, we're going to go in just with paint. I do a lot of splotching, so you can get different effects, different layering with splotching paint. There's also hatching. We're going to do that in blue. You go in with just a little bit, mostly just pigment on your brush. This gives you a little bit more control. You can hatch it, cross hatch, to get different effects. You can add more or less water depending on what you're trying to do. Our next effect is salt. So this we're going to kind of do the painting where we paint this kind of wash on there. And while we're doing that, I'm going to throw some water over here, some paint over here real quick for our technique. And for this, we're going to just sprinkle some salt. And what it does is it pulls the pigment into certain spots. Then with our rubbing alcohol, we're going to put another wash. And then we're going to take our little paintbrush. We're going to do fun blooms of the rubbing alcohol. Our last technique, sgraffito, means to scratch in Japanese. We're just going to take our butter knife and put it through there. You can get different lines. And as it dries, you can actually scratch off the paint to have white marks in your thing. That's it.